Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of Cape Rugby here on Cape Town TV. As you can see, we've chosen a different location tonight. We come to you live from the Western Province Rugby Football Union here in Newlands, and it's fantastic to be here. Slightly different look and feel, but it's great to be at the home of rugby here in Cape Town. Coming up in the show tonight, we'll of course look at the logs, the fixtures and the results as we always do. We'll give away some fantastic prizes courtesy of Evox and the Leisure Group. We'll take a look at our sports nutrition feature with Stefan de Twee right here at Newlands, that we of course filmed just before the Canterbury Crusaders game. And on the panel tonight we've got the selected special guests. My esteemed guest, Herman Abrams, the Deputy CEO of Western Province Rugby Football Union. Hello, Hermy.
Good evening.
Clive from Collegians. Hello, Clive.
Hi, good evening.
And Kevin Musicant, the coach of False Bay.
How's it going, JP?
Pretty good. Nice to have you guys along. So, gents, I suppose we can start right at the beginning. We can take a look at some of the results over the weekend. Belhar, Mr. H, 23-22 over Helderberg. Surprise win, or would you say?
Well, I think both of them being at the bottom, Belhar, a good win for Belhar, and it will do them good in, that they've won another game in Super League A, so now they can build from it.
I think Helderberg haven't really risen to the top of the pile.
No, they're struggling a bit, but I'm sure they'll pull themselves together and win a few.
SK Warmers managed a nice victory over Durbel, 45-39. Clive, you've played against SK Warmers a few times. I mean, what do you make of that victory for SK?
It's a good one for them. Durbel is not a bad side. They're doing well, and I expect SK just to get it right. Once they get it all together, they should do much better. From
a collegians perspective, I'm sure you guys can't wait to be able to clash heads again.
Yeah, that was one of the games we love to play, and it was one of the fixtures people love to come and watch.
I mean, there's a typical one of Cape Town's top derby matches, SK Warmers against Collegians.
Yes, but it's been a while now.
It's been a while, but we're hoping to see you back in Super League A shortly.
Yeah, that's how we're attempting that now.
Having to work at that. Yeah. Kevin, let's move to you now. I mean, you guys were at Super League B for a while, but you've managed to push your way back up into Super League A now. It was a tight match for you over the weekend, just going down to UCT, 36-22.
Yeah, disappointing at the end. With 7 or 8 minutes to go, we were actually leading by 6 points. We had a guy sent off, scrum reversed into a penalty, and they scored 20 points in 7 or 8 minutes.
Close game, and it all just changes at the very end.
Yeah, they showed they're professional, and we got lots to learn in terms of closing a game out. So
do you think it makes a difference for them that they've played in the Varsity Cup?
I think so. I think it's the confidence to know that they just need to hang in there and stay there. They've won, I think, the last 5 or 6 games they've won from behind. Yeah. So shows good luck to them. They did well.
Clive, you and I have spoken about this a few times, about the ability for players to learn to hang on to the ball in the last few minutes.
Yes. Yeah, that happened to us on Saturday. Patience is one of the things that we don't, when people see the try line, they get white line fever, and each one takes a dart at it. Yeah. And sometimes all doesn't just don't come off. What happened to us, in fact, is when everybody had his turn to take a dive at the try line, they threw the ball at, and Frankie Wagens ran almost 100 meters to score the bonus point try with Tiger.
And if you give him half a chance, he's going to take the gap and he's going to punish you.
And yeah, he can't goes around you, he goes through you.
The size of players in Super League A and Super League B now. Kev, you're a personal trainer in your private capacity, in addition to obviously coaching at False Bay. But it does look to me like the more senior leagues the guys are getting bigger and stronger and faster every year.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's definitely semi-professional, bordering on professional. Guys need to look after themselves in the gym. And I mean, if you look at the Hamilton's pack, it's like looking at a provincial setup there.
Well, I think that most of them are actually ex-provincial players.
Yeah.
Let's look then, talking about Hamilton's, narrow loss for them then, Mr. H, 28-29 against Marties. And from what I understand, was in the last minute.
Very last minute. And again, Marties, they got that knack to win at the end.
Yeah.
And Hamilton's probably kicked themselves, leading 28-22 at one close to the end. And it makes it difficult for them now. Marties is not finished with the first round, but Hamiltons need to win the rest of the games.
Let's look at Super League B then, folks. Clive, 34-6 then for you guys against Tygerberg. Collegians going down there. So I'm sure you wanted more from the boys. You said in the last few minutes you managed to...
Yeah, this game was at about 60 to 70 minutes. This game was still tied at 6-all.
Yeah.
They got a try and we felt we were still in there, and then after that it just, just fell apart for us. But it was a good rugby game on the day, and I'm proud of what they did up till the 70 minutes.
How do you coach maturity like that or experience like that into a player when you say, I mean, we see this on TV all the time, and everyone thinks that if you see something on TV, it's going to happen at club level, and it's not the same thing. There's not so many cameras, the refs are different. It's easy to sit on the couch and criticize.
Yeah.
But for a coach to teach players who are not doing it fully professionally, how do you teach that sort of maturity?
Mr. Abrams is a teacher, an ex-teacher. By repetition, I suppose you just keep going at it and keep at it, and until it becomes second nature, players will start to understand. Listen, we need to just listen and listen to what the coach says and take it from there.
Kevin, on your side, is that something that you would advise a coach? I mean, you guys have clearly had some success in the last 3 years. You've had to dig deep, not just through the first side, but also by bringing players up through the ranks to make sure that you can stay consistent. Is that some advice that you can give the other clubs out there if they want to perform? Is try and have consistency in your selection? And
you have to. I mean, it's very, very easy to pick a player and very difficult to drop one. And remember, when you say goodbye to a player, you lose something with them. They sort of stop playing for you in a way. So you need to back your players. You need to try and be as consistent as you can. But then they also need to come to the party and perform.
Clive, we've spoken about this before. Rassie Erasmus talks about players who don't make mistakes in the moves. And he says that his most valuable player is the player that has the lowest error rate. So if you have your drills and the ball has to go from 1 to 3 to 7 to 9, the player that can remember that sequence and actually do it is your most valuable player. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. But it depends on what you want those players to do when they have the ball.
Yeah.
Because look, my philosophy is, we can change the call, but look after the ball.
Yes.
And I think our guys are starting to understand that concept now. And then you start to play the situation.
You play the situation as it happens. You got to. And interesting that I was thinking about this, and Mr. H, maybe you can give me some commentary on this. It was interesting that Western Province back in the day, we talk about this loose running rugby that was so exciting in Western Province, but used to win games. And yet over the weekend, the Stormers played against the Blues, and we had a team that looked like it was strung together with chewing gum and paper clips, with a fly-off that didn't play in that position before, and a bunch of other players that had hopped around the field. And we played some of the best, most exciting rugby we'd ever seen.
Now you see, the one thing that happened there perhaps is that guys like Sadi and Joan, the opposition were not sure what they were going to do.
Yeah.
They didn't study them. They didn't study Dewald Duvenage at fly-off.
Yes.
They don't know what he is.
So the surprise factor.
That's exactly, So sometimes we mustn't overcoach also. I can't. I was never a great coach, but I always think you shouldn't overcoach.
Yeah.
That freedom to do at the moment that you think is right. Doen dit met oorgawe en gaan scoor die try.
En Jean de Jong het definitief daar vir ons gewys hoekom hy 'n Springbok is.
Ja, nee, hulle moet hom maar anders speel.
Ja. Ons hoop so. Kom ons kyk gou-gou na die ander punte mense in Superliga B. Primrose het net met 1 punt teen Kuilsrivier verloor, 22-23. Brackenfell net afgegaan teen Hands and Hearts 13-11 en Peniel Villages, Mr. H again. In actual fact, Clive, let's ask you. You guys have played against Peniel Villages. In actual fact, you're playing them this weekend, but you've played them in the past.
Yes.
Home ground advantage. NNK victory for them over Peniel Villages, but it was home ground advantage for Peniel. How important is home ground advantage?
To them, it's very important. Peniel is a very difficult side to beat out there.
Yeah.
And NNK did well to end up with this result. I'm actually shocked at this result because both of them have 2 big packs of forwards and they'd like to slug it out up front.
Yeah.
And Peniel is a side that will drive from try line to try line and keep the ball among the forwards and not let it go out at all.
home ground. I mean, do you think that if you go places like Die Gat, you've got the upper hand if you want to for home side?
Yes, I'd like to think so, because look, what we call our 16th player, our spectators,
yes.
They can be very intimidating. We don't know us and not used to the kind of spectator. It is rather difficult.
Do you think that, I mean, you know, in the days gone by, people would say that that sort of exuberant spectatorship was a little bit offensive and was a concern, and people were worried about it? Do you think people have now just adjusted to the fact that those are our Cape Town fans and we support rugby in a different way?
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most passionate crowds that we have around, and referee is always wrong, so make no mistake. You know. Every decision going against us, he'll hear it from different. I mean,
Kev, you have to admit that that's sort of uniquely Cape Town. What a fantastic sort of different type of crowd atmosphere we have here. Right? I mean, we have people complaining that there's booing at Newlands, but I mean, it's uniquely Cape Town. We have our own flavour. Yeah,
I think Cape Town's, there's 100 odd clubs here, so every club is passionately behind their team, and I think where there's passion, there's sometimes a little bit of blindness, and you only see one way, and you flick the referee out, and that's what happens.
Well, as long as we keep it clean, folks, remember, we certainly don't want to abuse any referees. And speaking about referees, of course, don't forget to keep watching us here on Cape Rugby. We bring you regular referee features. We're going to start looking at some of the laws in greater detail to make sure that you, as a club coach or player, understand the legalities of the game of rugby. And Mr. H, I've myself stood on the field here at Newlands, and just to the left of the tunnel, there's a set of fans who always have the same place. And my advice to you as a ref or a player or a coach is, do not abuse the fan.
Yeah, because they know their laws better than the referees.
Never abuse the fan, because you've got another 80 minutes to wait there, and they can sit there for the whole game having a lot of fun.
And they also know a little bit of your history, everybody's history.
They seem to know that personally, about your history and your wife and your dog and everything, including when the Australians are here. They seem to know everything about the Australians' sheep and the personal lives behind that sheep farming process. Right then, folks, let's look at some of the other results in Premier League A. Paul beating Kraaifontein 18 points to 7. Elsie's going down to Scottsdene 25-22. Mr. H, St. George's, a draw with Lunga. I mean, as we understand, your grandfather founded St. George's.
Yeah. So for what?
Yes, we just have to remind folks every week that Mr. H's grandfather founded St. George's,
and
if
my father played for them.
And your father played for them, and if you didn't pick it up in this episode, I'll be sure to remind you again in the next episode. But a draw there for St. George's against Lunga.
I think St. George's got a little complacent, and Lunga, you know, they were keen to show that they are a top team, so they're coming back.
Coming back then, Hamlet's going down to Goodwood 28-21, and Rangers 42-5 over Stelkor. Clive, a big win then for Rangers.
Yes, no, Rangers is starting to get it together. The guys down there are still working now. They know this is not the fairy tale, hasn't ended yet. Yeah. But they must just continue in this vein. They're doing well.
All right, then let's look at Premier League B. Silvertree beating Milnerton 32-7. UWC 25-5 over Laguna. We had Mangisi Chonti on the show, of course, and I think the week before he was telling us just about how big Laguna's front pack is. Obviously took his own advice for UWC. A nice win for them, 25-5 there.
Great win for them.
Yeah. Also, of course, having been able to draw on the experience of the Varsity Cup. Kevin, in your opinion, I mean, you've now played against Martins, you've played against UCT. The Varsity Cup scenario, is this a valuable learning experience? I mean, you guys certainly seem to have managed to withstand whatever it is that they've thrown at you.
Yeah, we have. I think the guys, it's an advantage and a disadvantage for them because they get match practice, but then there's also the guys that make it right the way through to the end. There's a fatigue factor. So for them, it's great. I mean, we would love to be involved in a similar type of competition that was televised on TV. But it's an advantage and a disadvantage. But the Super League A is very, 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 very tough, and you can see that.
Absolutely. Premier League B then, finishing it up, Van der Stel beating Franschhoek 30 points to 15. In Division 1, Northern's 52-17 over Kylemore. Young Stars beating Strand 15-14. There was a draw between Young Wesleys and Paarl Rangers, 0-0. Hamadias 15-25, a loss for Hamadias there. Wraithby Universals beating Busy Beats by just 1 point. In Division 2, Manenberg Rangers 22-21 over All Saints. Rocklands, a 1 point win for them over Watsonia. Atlantis 25-23 win for them over Blue Jets. Whistling Wheels, the wheels stayed on this time, 9-6 over Strand Pioneers. And Temperance, a nice win for them against Blue Stars, 24-7. Of course, you'll remember we had Patty Kuhn on the show, a lifelong member at Temperance. Now next week will of course be in our history featuring Thistles. We'll have Anthony Mayer, the president of Thistles, on a show with us. Anthony will tell us more about the history of Thistles. Of course, extremely important for us to, on the show here, remember the history of the clubs and preserve that legacy as we go along. Let's wrap up the results then. In the Division 3, Young Ideas 25-19 over Perseverance. The Caledonian Roses 14-26, a loss for them over Gardens Tech. And the Young Brothers joined with Krugersville, Richmond Rangers 35-8 over Bishop Lavers, and Retreat managing to unfortunately go down then to Violets, 14 points to 6. In the Paarl region, and make no mistake, we don't think of Paarl as the bottom of the log. Let's quickly look at the results for Paarl then. Young Standards, no loss for them, a 0-20 against Vineyards, 20 points to 0, a big loss there. Violets, big win for them, 33-9 over Allendale. Windmill United, 23-30 loss against Young Gardens. Lower Paarl beating Riverstones, 48-27. And Mr. H, here it happened again. Parel United are having a shocking season, 66-0 against Simondia.
Yeah, I think they're struggling seriously, and they're one of the clubs that's still under probation at the union, so they'll really have to pull up this.
When you say probation, what do you mean by that?
When they're a new club, they started 2 years ago.
Okay.
And you get a probationary period of 2 years that we see if you can make it.
Right. Is there, I mean, on that note, I mean, is there a criteria to be a club?
Yes, you must have 3 teams. You must regularly play all 3 teams. You must have your own field. You know, things like that.
Clive, in your opinion, do you think that there are any clubs, I mean, just offhand, are there any clubs that should amalgamate?
I would say in the lower division, some of them could. Yeah. Because I spoke to somebody, there are problems with numbers. Yeah. You have they pitch up with 15 guys and must play all 3 matches, which is not fair.
15 guys must play all 3 matches? From the first team, the second team, the third team.
I've seen some of those.
Well, at least you can pick the result you need. All right, folks, that's of course our results then. As you know, one of our proud sponsors here on the Cape Rugby TV show is the Leisure Group Hotels. Remember, all you need to do to win a fantastic prize from the Leisure Group is SMS the word leisure to 32010. You might see yourself winning a fantastic night's accommodation with bed and breakfast at one of the amazing Leisure Group hotels. Our last winner managed to win for themselves a prize at Strand Towers, an amazing location just here in town. This week's winner, who SMS'd the word leisure to 32010, was Washila Frederick. So Washila, congratulations to you. Your prize will be communicated to you shortly. Somebody will get in touch with you and let you know how it is exactly that you must collect that prize. Moving then right along, let's take a look at the logs. Top of the log then in Super League A, we'll start there. Marty's is still at the top on 33 points, followed by Steinhoff Vix on 27. UCT's on 24, SK Warmers in 4th place on 19. Mr. H, Hamilton's is sitting there on 16 points. Can they still make it? They look like they're the only team in Super League A that's still got enough games in hand.
That's right. If they win all the games, bonus points, they can do it.
And what's the advantage to winning Super League A in the first part of the season?
Well, you go to club championships.
You go to club championships. Yeah. One team?
One team. There's a lot of advantages. Televised matches. You give your sponsors a lot of scope, and the players also. You know, they go on to another level. So yeah.
Cape Super League A, you guys are sitting there in 6th place on the log now, was it 7th? 6th place. You've played 7, you've lost 3, or at least you've won 3, lost 4. What are your plans for the rest of the season? Where would you like to see yourself go? Yeah.
We'd like to be in the top end. I think every coach would like to see his team winning the league, but one's also got to be realistic and realise that you're up against teams that have experience in the Super League. It's only our 2nd year there, and it's important that we develop sustainability along with the whole club. Our seconds are doing really well. I think they're 2nd or 3rd on the log now. But first team needs to pick its socks up and get into the top half.
You don't have a sponsor at the moment.
Yeah, we don't. I think we're the only club in the Super League that doesn't have a sponsor, so that we have to look after ourselves a bit.
Well, there's absolutely no reason for that. So if you're a club administrator, understand that there is now a Cape Rugby TV show that covers club results, logs, fixtures, etc., which means that you've got potential for sponsors to get more attention, and that's how you can go out and find some potential sponsor candidates. Clive, it's not easy to make it work without sponsorship.
It's not. No, it is. I feel for Fallsbury. We know what it is to struggle without money. Mm-hmm. We fortunately have got a sponsor, but probably not on the scale that you're going to need for Super League A.
A lot of clubs out there at the moment who play rugby just on heart and soul and passion. Eh?
Yes, like us. we don't pay our players. We don't pay anybody. Yeah. We play with a cup of soup on a Thursday night. But the passion is still alive in VP Rugby, and that is one of the true good things. Lower down, I think we have 87 clubs or 89 clubs in the Western Province, but 10 of them are only fully sponsored, and that means we're talking about a lot of players that is just playing with a passion.
But as a club that has gone through the tough times, and Collegians has gone through tough times, you've been through the times that you've had no sponsor. You surely made a significant effort to get a sponsor. Have you got administrators and so forth that put together business plans and go knocking on sponsors' doors and try and look after the sponsor on your side?
Yeah, and the community businesses also helps us, where we need, and then we have Western Province who came, I think, the Lotto. I don't remember what it is. And it helps.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that some advice that you would give a club that is struggling with sponsorship? Is look for support within the community first and give back to the community?
Yes.
So it really does depend on the community looking after its a rugby team or rugby club, because that club's obviously there for the benefit of the community.
Yeah. And the businesses in the area. They've been helping us because, our community is supporting these businesses, and I think it's only fair for them to give back.
Absolutely. Let's take a look then at Super League B. Tigerbirds at the top on 26 points, NNK on 22, Belleville on 18. They've played 5 games so far, they've won 3. Brackenfell has played 5 as well, won 3. Peniel Villages 6, they've only won 3, but they are sitting at 5th place, 6th place on the log at the moment. Clyde, you guys are sitting down in 6th place at the moment. You've played 6 games, you've won 2. I'm sure you'll be looking for a slight improvement as you climb through the rest of the season.
Yes, if the last 2 weeks was anything to go by, then we have a big future, and at should spell that these other guys should start worrying, because if that is the kind of rugby we've been teaching about 2 weeks, I'm quite happy with what we've been doing. Yeah. It's just like we said earlier on, the finishing offenses are hanging on to that last 10 minutes or so. Yeah. And I think we will surprise a couple of them, like Hands and Hearts has done. Yeah.
Well, Hands and Hearts, of course, have played a 6 game this season so far, sitting on 10 points. Young People's at the bottom of Super League B on 3 points. Take a look then at the logs in Premier League A. Goodwood is at the top with 26 points. St George's is on 23. Kraaifontein on 20. Scottsdene on 17. All of the teams in Premier League A have played 6 games exactly. All right, then in Premier League B, UWC is still sitting pretty at the top on 24. Laguna on 21. Solarians on 19 points. Those are your top 3 then in Premier League B. In Division 1, it's Northerns up against, well, not up against, but sitting on the top of the log there in Division 1. Eerste Rivier is in 3rd place. Young Stars in 4th on 18 points. So your top 3 there, Northerns, Rugby and Eerste Rivier, all sitting on 19 points in Division 1. In Division 2, it's Rocklands, All Saints and Watsonia that bring up the top 3. Division 3, Violets, Caledonian Roses and Retreat. Perseverance sitting down in 6th place on 13 points. They've played 6 games, they've won 2, they've lost 4. Mr. H, we had the folks from Perseverance in the studio just the other day. They can't be happy with their performance at the moment.
No, surely not. But I'm sure they're a group of guys, young guys. They'll win a few more, and I'm sure they'll move up.
Kevin, when you have a situation like that where teams are sort of at the bottom of the log towards as you start getting into the season, is it a case of it takes a few weeks to sort of get your feel for it before you get going?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got to understand every competition is competitive, and there can only be one log winner. And I think as administrators and coaches in your clubs, you've also got to make sure that you give realistic goals. If all 10 teams are going to win the league, then who comes last? You know?
So, I mean, on that point, Clive, how important is it to start pre-season training as early as possible? How long do you guys start out of season?
Look, we go through a period in our club, which is a Muslim period of Ramadan.
Yeah.
And we give them 6 weeks after that. And if season ends in September, we start in first week in November.
You start in the first week of November to prepare for April?
Yeah.
So this has become, in the club rugby space, almost a 12-month season.
Yes, it is. I know they'd start earlier because of the gym work and the conditioning that they have to put in.
But of course, after Ramadan, you want the body to catch up a little bit and recover.
And then we start all over again.
So pre-season is happening in the club leagues as well.
Yes.
Kevin, I mean, from your point of view, and for the clubs, I mean, again, you're a gym specialist, personal trainer. When it is pre-season, what do the guys focus on?
Focusing on their strength and their conditioning off the field, and they'll have field sessions. We go once a week, sort of October, then twice a week November, and twice a week December, and then we start going 3 times a week in January on the field. But mainly gym work. The guys have got their gym work to do.
Of course, very important to pack on as much weight as possible before you have your first game, because there's no time to pack on the weight as you into the season. And you don't want to find yourself in the middle of the log 5 or 10 kilos lighter than when you started, because then you need it most to climb back up the log.
Well, rugby is a physical sport, and you've got to be physically ready to play and condition yourself that way, otherwise you'll get hurt.
Absolutely. In Division 4, Masipumulele is at the top on 23 points, Peninsula's on 19, Thistle on 17. And talking about Thistle, folks, we will have them on the show next week in our history feature, as I mentioned to you earlier on, extremely important to us to preserve that history feature. Incidentally, Thistle originated in Rochabai at the Thistle Bar, and were moved to Bonte on the Group Areas Act time. A terrible tragedy that happened to Thistle and so many of the other clubs within Western Province. And we're going to delve into their history a little bit more and find out about the Thistle, who are now more than 120 years old. Would you believe it? Looking then at the log in the Paarl region, Vineyards is at the top on 29 points, Lower Paarl on 20, sharing that second and third place with Violets also on 20, Simonium's on 15, Riverstones on 13, Young Gardens, Albion's Windmill United, Young Standards, Allendale, and right at the bottom, having played 5 and lost 5 on 0 points, is Peril United. And if they're going to survive, they're certainly going to have to make a big effort to climb back up that log. Well, folks, remember, we always take a look at your questions. It is time for Q&A coming up next. Welcome back to Cape Rugby here on Cape Town TV. Nice to have you along. As you know, we do give you all an opportunity to send us your questions, your pics, your videos, and we pass those questions on to the panel. We go left field to the chat zone, and we go to Facebook, and we go to Twitter, and we see if we can scan for your questions. So don't forget, keep sending them in to us. Let's turn our attention now to the Facebook page, where we got in some photographs from Cat and I, and incidentally, Kevin, it's one of your boys. This is, I believe, your wing scoring a try against UCT.
That's right wing, Yakuru.
Yakuru, fantastic photograph there of Yaku there scoring a great try. Now, and as we know, Gees is so important at in the world of rugby. This was a clip that we downloaded off YouTube, courtesy of Nico Groenewald. Well, there we have a fantastic little video from Nico Groenewald having sent in his YouTube version of the boys at NNK having got around the field, obviously, after a successful match and doing their little sing-song. Clive, team spirit like that, big at collegians?
Yes. With the one advantage we have our kids doing what is called a halila, it's our form of haka.
Yeah.
And the kids start with ends off with our first team before we leave the field every weekend, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
People have been recording it, and it's been played in Australia, for instance.
Really?
We went down there, yes.
Fantastic stuff. And Kevin, you guys at False Bay also a little sing-along?
Yeah, I think most of our sing-alongs we wouldn't be able to air on TV, but definitely Gees is a massive part of the Bay. Yeah.
I remember one of the finest moments that I ever had was having been invited to watch a game at Primrose. The boys invited me to the change room before kickoff to do when they were going to sing Rosa.
Yes, yeah, it's big with them.
Yeah, and I was so impressed that, I mean, there were no fancy drums and stuff. There were buckets, and the guys were just, and it was, I mean, tears in my eyes. It was very emotional.
They do it all the way up, from the littlest one team all the way to the senior first team.
Yeah, and important to keep those sort of traditions alive in club rugby.
Yeah, I think so. It's something was to hold on to, you know, to identify as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, thanks for that little video there, Nico. Nice to get that in. And folks, don't forget, please send us your pictures. As you see the picture here of Yakaru at False Bay, and of course the video from Nico there at NNK. We move our questions now to the Twitter side of things, and you can follow us on the Twitter handle at Cape Rugby TV. Please, folks, and just in terms of the Twitter, extremely important that to share the information and keep things alive. Remember, we don't have live rugby amongst the 90 clubs here. There's no live television, but one way to do it is on your cell phone. If you have Twitter, just hashtag Cape Rugby. It's as easy as that, and then everybody else can do a search on Cape Rugby and stay up to date on the scores and the happenings at all of the various games. So it's a constant flow of information amongst those of you that have got Twitter on your cell phone and game time. So if Saturday's game time, stay on the Twitter. All right, then let's look at the question. And it comes in from Phil Frick, and Mr. H, I'm going to address this one at you. It's a kind of a long question, but in short, his question is, how do you determine the fixtures?
The fixtures is quite simple. We look at where you're in, so the clubs are rated from 1 to 90. And then the first 10, which is Super League A, number 1 will play number 10, number 2 will play number 9, and so we go down.
Okay, so the starting process before you put the whole puzzle together is really about rankings?
Yes.
From the year before? Yeah. Okay, fantastic stuff. Hope that sort of helps you, Phil, in terms of your question. Great question. I think it must be a very complicated process, though. I mean, so many clubs to try and work it out who plays when and where.
You start, you know, with that, but you can't always fit it in, because now you find this club must play 2 matches in the week, the other one, and then the whole thing sort of fizzles out, and then you must use your brains to get to the end result.
Yeah, no comment on that one, then we'll move straight along. Well, let's go left field. We go left field where we take a look at the website, at the Western Province Club Rugby website. Always a hot place to go to. Got a question here from Josh K. And Mr. H, I'll address this one at you again then. Hi JP, could you perhaps look into a red card to racism initiative driven by the Western Province Rugby Football Union? We're looking at club level and all matches played at Newlands or under the auspices of Western Province Rugby Football Union. Mr. H, I believe this was an initiative started at the Bulls. They had some problems with racism back there at Loftus. Do we have a red card to racism initiative at Western Province? Do we need one?
I would say that we don't need one, but we deal with matters in a different way. If anything is reported, it goes to the disciplinary committee who deals with it, and there's very stringent rules that apply to that. And I would like to believe, you know, that we've come a long way on that road as far as racism is concerned, because we find very few incidents reported of that nature.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Right.
find
Clive, in your experience at ground level, do you think we've still got racism in club rugby?
No, I don't believe that.
It's better.
Yes,
But there used to be.
probably in the beginning, yes, I would
Yeah.
say there were. But you know, that's each to his own.
It's
Different-
better.
Yeah, they're different. Yes, much better now.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah, like I always say the only color you look at is your opposition jersey.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, I'll be the white guy then to say that there was racism in rugby. We had an apartheid era, and I'm pretty sure that there was racism in those days. Kevin, in terms of false play playing out there, how have your experiences been?
Well, our club's fully integrated and multicultural, but there's no place for racism in sport, and
Yeah.
sport's the one thing that brings people together, so there's no need.
Yeah. Clive, I mean, from your perspective, is that something that you feel? I mean, there's over the years, many times people have pointed fingers at collegians for various reasons. Do you think that sport is something that helps people cross boundaries, rugby in particular in this case, helps people share experiences?
Yes, no, I'm a great believer because the rugby can change the lives if we can regard it as a life skill.
Yeah.
And I think it will change people, it will change individuals. It has changed me because Mr. Abrams there. And I think the one sport we did it in 1995. The motto was "One Team, One Nation."
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And we took it from there, and we're taking it a lot further now these days.
Right, yeah. Well, of course, yeah. I remember the '95 World Cup. The song was "World in Union." PJ Power singing that cup, and I mean that song, and I mean what an honour there to see some sort of leadership in terms of our way forward. Where Mr. H, and you've said it yourself, Nelson Mandela himself, 27 years in jail, having experienced all of the various atrocities, worse than any other human probably, you know, that has over the centuries, and yet he pulls on the jersey of the enemy.
Yeah.
This shows what a great man is.
Should we follow in those footsteps?
Exactly.
We'll try. We'll absolutely try our best. Talking about the youth, though, and making changes, next week we'll also be speaking to the folks from Manenberg Rangers. They are now known as MIT Rangers. They've got some fantastic initiatives developing at Manenberg, and we'll be looking forward to speaking to Adil Abbas, who's going to join us on the show, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what they're starting to do in Manenberg. The kids are starting to play rugby. They've got feeding schemes. They've got a fantastic support structure there from MIT. And that's what you need to do when you want to change the lives of people, is get them into sport, get them into the world of rugby. Another question that came in on left field on the Facebook page, at least on the club rugby side, was from Paddy. And Mr. H, the question there was in connection with insurance and medical and so forth. He had a request from the players earlier in the season regarding disability and death benefits. Can we find a distinction between disability and death benefits and the responsibility of the clubs in terms of medical insurance? I mean, obviously the clubs are going to say, you know, our players are cutting themselves and so forth. What is the responsibility of the club, and what's the responsibility of the union?
Maybe right now the IRB has brought in a new rule, Clause 23, which says that if it's a professional player, the people that he played for must make sure that he's covered, and if it's a club, they must make sure that the player is covered, but the player must cover himself.
Okay.
So what we've done as a union is to engage in a company to provide death and disability cover at 20 Rand per annum for players, so that we at least can be in line with the IRB rules.
So you're actually obligated to do this?
You have to.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you had...
Yeah, in other countries...
There are other options out there, but in this case, it's a regulatory procedure.
Yeah.
And in terms of the cuts and the broken bones and so forth...
That's your own...
Clubs and individuals must make sure that they're covered.
Exactly.
All right. Right, well, Paddy, I hope that answers your question. Maybe not always the perfect solution, but certainly in terms of regulatory position, that's what the union has to do, and the rest of us have to go out there and get insurance. Mr. H, from the union on the spot point of view, and folks, you know that we always put the union on the spot. We don't shy away from that question. We tackle the union. And weekly here on Cape Rugby, we ask the question, what have you done for the club lately? And Mr. H, I ask you that question then this week. What have you done for the clubs lately?
We informed all 10 clubs in Division 1 to collect equipment to the value of about 5,000 rand,
yeah,
which is tackle bags and shields. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Hopefully next week you won't ask the question again.
I will ask the question every week. But I'm sure, of course, you can't give out that much stuff every week. But, you know, if we can keep getting assistance from the union in terms of administrative information, just tell us what you're doing. Because I think a lot of people out there don't know that you are putting up lights, you are sorting out irrigation, you are giving tackle bags, you are helping with lottery forms. And we need to make sure that that information is coming from the union all the way down to ground level. Talking about information coming from the union and all the way down to ground level, folks, what you might not have realized by now is that as a club rugby player, you are actually sponsored by Evox Advanced Nutrition. Evox is one of the sponsors of the show. They are also the official supplier to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers. And as a club rugby player affiliated to Western Province Rugby, you are entitled to sponsored rates. So make sure that you ask your administrator at your club, who would have spoken to the union, how it is that you need to go about that. And speaking about Evox, of course, we spoke to Stefan de Tooy right here on the field at Newlands about sports nutrition in the world of rugby. Hopefully you find this helpful. Check this out. Hello everybody, we're here at Newlands. It's early morning. And of course the guys are getting ready for their match tomorrow. With me is Stefan de Tooy, the conditioning coach of the DHL Stormers. Steph, thanks for joining me yet again in another Evox insert.
Pleasure, James. Early morning, early start, good day.
Yeah, it's a tough job for you guys.
Oh, it's something we enjoy. It makes life a lot easier if you do what you like.
Well, we've now spoken about nutrition a few times, about the difference in recovery and so on. But let's take a quick look at the different types of players in the team. So, I mean, we're trying to get some nutrition advice here specifically for club and school players and guys that are trying to get to the level that you guys are at. So you have a forwards player and you have a backline player.
That's right.
Would you say that some of those players will use different types of nutrition?
Definitely. Probably different amounts, different dosages of the products. It's difficult to individualize that much that you go into so much detail. It's not really that necessary if you, in our environment, players are professional, they know what to do. But it's an education thing. School players can do it, club players can do it if they sit down and they make a plan and they stick to it. It's just a dosage that differs. Forwards a little bit heavier than back. So.
I was going to ask you, you might have a player, a forwards player who's maybe got a little bit more body fat and you're trying to cut him down.
That's right.
Or you might have a backline player who's same thing, or vice versa.
Perfect.
And so you vary your products.
But it still comes down to training.
Yes.
If you've got a good supplement, which you will use in accordance with a good training program or gym program or even a cardio program, if the player is a little bit too heavy, the two go hand in hand. They actually complement each other. So you cannot, the one cannot go without the other. Diet or supplementation, I feel, even tips training. If you can train as hard as you want, if you don't take in what you need, you're going to lose out. But there is a mix between forwards and backs, definitely.
So if you look at a part like this, for example, this is a 5XL meal replacement where it's sort of a 50-50 scenario, 50% protein, 50% carbohydrates. What kind of player would you recommend that for? Would this be more body cutting or maintenance?
Look, you get those guys that are slightly underweight. I would give this to a guy that needs a little bit more body weight.
Yeah.
But now you got to be clever. You can't. Some props, I'm not sure if it's still that way, but some props playing club rugby or school rugby are props, but they're slightly underweight.
Okay.
If he's lean and he's underweight, it's fine. You can give it to him. But if he's at that specific weight, let's say he weighs 80, but the rest of his peers at that level weighs 100, and they're quite muscular. If he's at 80 and he's slightly chubby, I would not even give it to him.
Okay.
He probably won't get more chubby, but he needs to get his body into the gym, point number one, I'd say.
Things like creatine is a no-no for school kids.
It depends. It depends on training age, on training status of the players. It depends what his background is, where he comes from, if he's had any problems with growth spurts, those type of things.
So in a case like that, it's probably a good idea to speak to a qualified
medical doctor, consult a good sports physician. I would say that's point number one.
So if we just move away now from the 5XL, which has got 50-50 carbs and protein, we know the carbs what puts the calories in, and the protein is what looks after the muscles. We now go to a scenario where we have a whey protein like this, which is the 100% protein.
That's it.
Very little carbohydrates in here. In actual fact, if I look at the label, it's got carbohydrates. Anyway, it's got very little carbohydrates in. Oh, there we go. 3 grams. 3 grams in the front.
It's got nothing.
Yeah. So you could consider this really a zero carb protein. So you would recommend this for somebody that maybe needs to lose a bit of body fat?
If he takes this in accordance with a good diet.
Yeah.
If he takes this and he still eats junk, it's not going to help him. So you need that lifestyle, healthy change that will make this work.
Yeah.
That's the big problem sometimes where you give a guy a good gym program and he doesn't follow it, and his mates ask him whose program you're on, and he says no, I'm on person X's program, but he's still chubby. So it's the same with this. If he uses it and he bites to it and he's disciplined, guys 35 years of age will still get results. Guys 16 years of age will get results. But you've got to take it diligently. But this is a great product if you want to lose and shed a bit of body fat.
Is it easy enough to use? You mix it up?
Yeah, no, massive easy. You use a Evox shaker, which is, the new shakers are really nice.
Yeah.
You don't have to shake it and the lid comes off like other brand shakers. So it's got a nice screw top on. You put your 400 ml water in it, nice and cold. Put your 2 to 3 scoops in according to your body weight. You put some ice in it. Mix it. You can drink it in your car. You can.
So
it's so easy to use.
If you're out normal day job, it's easy enough to just throw some powder in a shaker, throw it in a bag, and during the day, the nearest tap that you go to.
That's it.
As easy as that.
Even if you, what you can do is you can mix it the night before you go to bed.
Okay.
You put it in your freezer. You wake up in the morning. It's there to be consumed and job done. Yeah, easy.
Well, there we have it, folks. Another handy tip there from Stefan de Toer, the fitness conditioning coach at the DHL Stormers. Steph, thanks a lot.
Pleasure, JP.
Until next time, bye-bye. Well, fantastic stuff there to see Stefan de Toer, the head conditioning coach here at the DHL Stormers, telling us about sports nutrition products. Of course, Evox is one of the sports nutrition sponsors to the show and to Western Province Rugby. And on a weekly basis, we give away a prize hamper courtesy of Evox. All you need to do is send us an SMS. Tell us who is the official sports nutrition supplier to Western Province Rugby. Send that name to 32010, the word, and to the number 32010, together with your name, and you could put yourself in line to win yourself a 500 Rands worth of Evox nutrition products. That's send the sponsor's name to 32010. It's as easy as that. This week's winner is Graham Shepherd. Congratulations, Graham. You win yourself an Evox hamper valued at 500 Rand. Right, folks, it's time for us now to take a look at some of the matchups this week. Gentlemen, it doesn't look like it's getting any easier. And Mr. H, you pointed it out to me already, that in some of the leagues, it's number 1 and 2 playing against each other. It could be quite a tough week. Let's start with Super League A. Kev, let's actually ask you, UCT up against Villagers. How do you see that going?
It's a tough one. My old club Villagers against a team that's high riding. I think UCT, home ground advantage, probably UCT.
Home ground advantage for UCT up against Villagers. Clive, let's ask you. You've got intimate experience of SK Warmers against Helderberg. Of course, SK Warmers playing away.
That shouldn't face them.
Wouldn't worry about it.
I'd go SK Warmers.
You go SK Warmers on that one. Those are our picks then, of course, courtesy of Faisal Felton, the Chief Administrator here at Western Province Rugby. And every week we put him on the spot, and out of all of the fixtures, we tell him to give us the big matchups. Let's look at Super League B. Brackenfell take on Young Peoples at Brackenfell. Collegians, Mr. Clive, against Peniel Villagers, but you've got home ground advantage.
That's plus 16 players.
Plus 16 players. It's going to be a tough match, though.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
But we out there preparing for them, and we'll be ready come Saturday.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we wish you guys the best of luck, and I have no doubt that you can do it with 16 players in the field.
Our 16th player would be in our stand.
Kales River take on Hands and Hearts at Kales River, and Primrose at home against Belleville. But the pick of the week, Mr. H, Tigerberg against NNK. They're at Florida. Tigerberg gets home advantage. Tigerberg's doing pretty well tonight.
Number 1, die Tieregrom.
Tieregrom.
Die Tieregrom.
Seker Pieter Jooste is happy daaroor, né?
Ja, nee, seker baie gelukkig.
Hy pronk seker.
And number 1 and number 2 playing one another.
Yeah.
Big crowd expected. Yeah, great game.
Going to be a tough one, an absolutely tough one. Let's look at Premier League A. Langa against Scottsdene, Rangers against Kraaifontein, Stelkar play Paul at Iders Valley. And the picks there in Premier League A is Goodwood against St George's.
Number 1 and number 2.
Number 1 and number 2 again.
Yep.
St George's and Goodwood. And number 1, of course, Goodwood got home advantage there. Hamlets take on Elsie's River at Marmray. In Premier League B, it's Franschhoek up against Lorians in Groendale. Clive, the pick there, according to our chief picker, Macassar against Milnerton. Macassar got a home ground advantage at Macassar Sports.
Yes, and they are difficult side out to be. Milnerton just come over a loss to sort of 35-6 or something.
Yeah.
And I fancy Macassar, that was home ground.
Okay.
Dusty patch of it.
The dusty patch of Macassar. Silverleaf take on Lagunia at Elsies. UWC against Silver Tree, and the pick of the week in Premier League B is Van der Stel against Strand United. Let's take a look at Division 1. Hamadias against Kylmore at Vijgerkraal. Paarl Rangers against Youngstars and Paarl. Young Wesleys against Boland. Our pick in Division 1, it's Eersterivier against Northerns. Mr. H, Eersters against Northerns?
Northerns doing exceptionally well. Number 1 and Eersterivier in number 3.
Yeah.
So, close game.
Tough one. Strand against Wraithby, also a big one over the weekend in Division 2. Blue Jets take on Whistling Wheels at Khayelitsha. Blue Stars against Rocklands at Klapmuts. Strand Pioneers at Atlantis, and Temperance take on Manenberg Rangers. The pick in Division 2 is All Saints against Watsonia. Kev, I don't know if you've had False Bay down against All Saints and Watsonia, but
never experienced All Saints or Watsonia, but I think safest bet is to go with the home team.
Go with the home team. In Division 3, it's Richmond Rangers at least against Perseverance. The Gardens Tech take on Clutisville Violets against Young Brothers, Young Ideas, and Bishop Lavis. And the pick there is Caledonian Roses against Retreat. Clive?
Yeah, Caledonian Roses has got a couple of new boys to join the club, and they're doing quite well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of old collegians, old boys out there.
Collegians, old boys at Caledonian Roses?
Yeah. They've taken the club this year to great heights, and they expect them to.
Is there something special in the soup that they've got?
They didn't want us.
In Division 4, Delft take on Thistle, and don't forget, folks, just a reminder that once again, Thistle feature next week in our history feature. Can't wait to have them on board. They're going to tell us about a little bit of their history at Thistle, more than 120 years old. Khayelitsha take on Peninsula. Mitchell's Plain take on Titans. Marcy won against Cities at least. Progress take on Imakawi. In the Paarl region, no folks, we haven't forgotten about you. In the Paarl region, Allendale against Lower Paarl, the Riverstones at Windmill United. Vineyards take on Albions, Mr. H.
That would be a good game, because Albion is a club that, had the highest rating before they joined that group. But Vineyards are doing exceptionally. They are top of the log. So.
Pilots up against Young Standards, and Young Gardens against Parel United. Parel United bottom of the log. We're going to have to see them pull finger if they are hoping to increase their position on the log at all during the season. Kev, it's a bye for you guys this weekend. A well-deserved break.
Well, after last weekend, maybe not well-deserved, but a break. We'll take the break.
Well, I'm sure you're going to come out of it strong and have a good rest of the season, and I'm sure we're going to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you very much.
Clive, big one for you guys this week against Panil Villages.
Yes.
Home ground for you?
Yeah, home ground.
Well, best.
Nothing's easy.
Best of luck and best of wishes to the boys at Collegians. We see you guys going from strength to strength and hanging in there and always doing fantastic stuff. So nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for having us.
And we're going to keep following your progress.
Yes, you do.
Not the Progress Rugby Club, but the Collegians Rugby Club. Well, that is a wrap of Cape Rugby here on Cape Town TV, folks. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook page. It is www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. On Twitter, the handle is @Cape Rugby TV. It is as easy as that. Once again, we are begging you to send us your footage. Any video on the cell phone or by hand is absolutely fine. Any pictures that you can send us is also absolutely amazing. Remember, as of next week, we start flighting on Cape Town TV at 9 o'clock. That's 9 o'clock. We're an hour long. Tell your friends and family. Repeats are on Thursdays at 3 p.m. and 11 p.m. That's a wrap from us. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.